Good morning, this is Carrie here. I'm the leader of RC Arrows, Restoration's Kids Ministry. And as promised, we're going to be magnifying Jesus today and talking about plants. Now I know I said we would talk about Jesus, but it does tie in. Jesus actually called himself the vine, and I'm going to explain in just a minute what that meant. But first, have you noticed how slowly life has been moving since we've been here at home? It's almost like we're tucked away or hidden from all the craziness in school, sports, music lessons, dance, friends' houses, all of that stuff. It's like God has us inside right now. And that made me think of my little indoor garden. The kids and I have planted seeds in these trays, and I'm calling it my little seedling nursery. A neighbor of ours brought over a bunch of seeds, so we've really got a lot going on. We've got vegetables, we've got some carrots here, some tomatoes, some peas and beans, which aren't doing too well because my cat Barnaby won't leave them alone. We've got flowers, some borage, grand astilbe, some yarrow and hollyhock, and then over on the other table there, Mirabelle has planted some marigold seeds and some candy tuft. And then behind me, I've got this big crazy thing, which was my Mother's Day gift. The kids have named her Layla Kulani. So we're kind of surrounded by plants here. But these little seedlings, these tiny plants, cannot go outside. They're not big enough, they're not strong enough. If I went and planted them now, they just wouldn't make it, they would die. They need a lot of special care. I can't even just take them and put them under the faucet or take a watering can and dump water on them. They wouldn't even survive that. It would just wash them out. They're too delicate. So I have to put them under the faucet with like a slow trickle. And the plants that haven't come up yet, I water from underneath. They actually have to be soaked or else the water would wash the seeds out. And then you can see I've got some special lighting here because if you just stick them in a window, the plants are going to grow towards the window and they're going to become long and spindly. So it's best if you can try to surround them with light. And then I have a fan here because think about it. Plants that are growing outside, they have the wind on them all the time, so they grow sturdy and strong. Well, these little seedlings are going to grow up weak if they don't have that wind. So I've got a little bit of fan to get some air on them so they can grow up big and strong. And then even when they get big enough and strong enough, they can't just go directly outside. They have to be slowly transitioned, or even still they would die. So first I might put them outside in the shade for a while, then let them be in the sun for a few hours. So they just need a lot of special care. So let's think about how we're similar to these little seedlings, these tiny plants. They are waiting to go outside to produce vegetables or beautiful blossoms. That's called producing fruit. So even though they're not a fruit tree, the vegetable of a vegetable plant or the blossom of a flower, that's called producing fruit. But they're not ready to go outside and produce fruit yet. Well, guys, God wants us to produce a kind of fruit. He wants us to help people into his kingdom. He wants us to let the power of God flow through us to help people. But most of us aren't really doing that right now. We're not really ready yet. And just like these plants are inside preparing to go outside and produce fruit, we need to be preparing to produce fruit while we're inside too. So let's find out why Jesus called himself the vine. I want to read to you from John 15, 1 through 5. It says, I am the true vine. This is Jesus talking. My Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that does not produce fruit, and he trims and cleans every branch that produces fruit so it will produce even more fruit. You are already clean because of the words I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can produce fruit alone. It must remain in the vine. It is the same with you. You cannot produce fruit alone. You must remain in me. There it is. Jesus calls himself the vine. Now, so that you can understand what he meant when he was talking about the pruning and the trimming and the remaining in him, I want to show you a picture of an actual grapevine. Now on this picture, do you see that part at the top that's growing from side to side? That's the vine. That's the part that gives the branch life, nutrients, food, and energy. And then that part that grows off the vine that holds the grapes, that's the branch. So the vine is like Jesus and the branch is like us. When we're producing fruit, when we're influencing people, we're spreading the truth, we're praying over people, we're bearing fruit. But the problem is, most of us are not bearing fruit. We're just not ready. We need Jesus to trim us and prune us back so that we can produce fruit. Listen, guys, when you're alone in your room, spend time with Jesus, asking him to show you attitudes and behaviors that he needs to take away so that you can do the things that God wants you to do. Now, Jesus also talked about remaining in the vine. That just means the branch has to be connected to the vine. If we're not connected to Jesus, there's no way we can produce fruit. Just like if the branch gets cut off from the vine, there's no way it can produce grapes. We have to stay connected to him. Do you remember last week when I talked about that when we spend time with Jesus, worshiping him and reading our Bibles, that's like eating bread to our spirit and our soul because Jesus is the bread of life. That's the same way that you stay connected to the vine, by spending time with him. But if we don't spend time with him, we're not going to be ready to go outside. We're not going to be ready to produce fruit. I want you guys to take these last couple weeks, these next couple weeks, and really focus on reconnecting to him, letting him show you things in your heart that need to be pruned back so that you can produce fruit. I don't know how much more time we have inside. It might only be another week or two before we start getting involved in other things. Are you going to use this time to grow strong, just like these plants are? I really hope that you are, and I want to pray for you. Lord, I just ask that every child who's listening to me would spend the next few days and the next couple weeks connecting to you, connecting to the vine, talking to you, letting you strip away, snip things back that aren't meant to be there so that they can do the works that you've called them to do. So the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up its countenance upon you and give you peace.